Please give a warm welcome to Professor Brynjolfsson.
Now, my research has focused around the economics of information technology. I was trained as an economist. And economists look at a lot of statistics. It's sometimes called the dismal science. We look at things like job creation and trade deficits and budget deficits. A lot of those numbers haven't been real encouraging recently. But there's one statistic that I think is more important than all the other economic statistics put together. And that one statistic is productivity growth. Productivity is ultimately what determines the wealth of nations. Productivity is what, in the long run, drives the competitive advantage of every one of your companies. You can jigger things around in the short run, but in the long run, you're going to have to deliver more value without using more resources in order to be competitive and successful and deliver value for your shareholders. And productivity is what determines all of our living standards, how well we will live, how well our children and grandchildren will live. So productivity is a really key statistic, and I've been looking at that question as it relates to technology and information technology in particular. So what is productivity? I mean, people talk about it, and I think that word gets used and abused a lot, sometimes oversimplified, but it is a simple concept in many ways. Productivity can be defined quite simply as output divided by input. That's all there is to it. How much output per unit input. So those are the two key components of productivity. And in my research, I've been measuring this and its effects, and I found that there are, in fact, just two parts of it that have been fairly difficult to measure. One of them is output. The other one is input. That's the agenda, and I want to leave some time at the end for Q&A, so please think of your questions. I get a lot out of these presentations from hearing what some of your own experiences are, having you challenge some of the statements I'm making or reinforce them, or just share with me and your colleagues here some of your own findings. So I'm looking forward to that part of the session as well. So in summary, let me highlight the main conclusions from this research. First off, we found that indeed IT is the catalyst for the productivity surge. It's now conclusive that this enormous productivity growth we've had, not just in the 90s, but even more in the past 4 years or so, can be traced back to significant investments that American firms made in information technology over the past decade or so. However, I don't want you to miss the forest for the trees. The big story is not the technology per se, it's the way it has led to new ways of organizing work, new digital business practices that we have now explicitly measured. That's where the bulk of the costs have gone, and that's where the bulk of the benefits come from. In fact, the payoff comes when you combine them. Thirdly, we have identified 7 practices. Now, this is just a start, but we've identified 7 practices that show up consistently in these organizations, and my research agenda is to continue to refine and expand that list and differentiate it from different industries.